Welcome to SportsnStogies. Now, introducing your hosts, Cameron Winkowitz and Austin Hayes.
Pull up a chair, pour up that drink, and light that cigar because it's time for episode 88 of SportsnStogies. Yep, it's bad mic quality. It's just me. I'm back. Austin's going to be taking some time off, so it's just going to be me for a while, and we're going to have to bear with the audio while we can until I get a proper setup because this is very makeshift. So thank you for bearing with me. Thank you for all the feedback I got. I did get a lot of feedback from you guys, so I really appreciate that as well. And that's what's driving me to do these solo shows by myself. So the more you guys listen, the more I'll put out, and I'll always be around. This episode is brought to you by All Things Fitness, Mr. Evan Keaton, ACE certified personal trainer. I do not have his contact information, but you can reach out to him via our Instagram that he's tagged in and our Facebook posts that he is tagged in. So I do have a pipe tobacco grade for you guys today. I had the Crumble Cake Red Virginia by Sutliff. Overall 20 out of 25 because the flavor is good, but it's just kind of overwhelming with one. There's a lot of dark, tangy fruit, and I feel like that's kind of what it's centered around, which is fine. Like I said, it's really good, but I would like for it to evolve over time because you are signing up for an hour, 35 minutes to an hour. So in that time, you do want to experience, numerous things and just to keep it fresh. So, but yeah, so 20 out of 25, not terrible, but very good. We'll recommend to anyone who is starting out in pipe tobacco to really be able to taste it. It's really flavorful, and there's a lot of flavor. So with that, we do have some fan cues, a couple from Sherm and a couple from TB, or one from TB. So starting out first, we got a Bengals question, specifically a Bengals wide receiver question. Does T. Higgins have a good year on his tag, and will he re-sign if they let Chase walk? Basically saying, what if Jamar Chase is the one they can't afford and T. Higgins is? I do think T. Higgins will have a good year as long as he's on the field. As far as letting Jamar Chase walk, I don't think that's a possibility. I really, really, really don't see them letting Chase walk. I think T. Higgins will get traded this year while he's on his tag. So that's my opinion. I think he'll be traded mid-season for something while he's healthy. So that's my opinion on that. I do think he has a good year regardless, even if he does stay, but I do think they will be looking to trade him. The next one is about the next two are about the Timberwolves. Do the Timberwolves fire their coach and build around Anthony Edwards? I think you definitely build around Anthony Edwards. I'm not sure that coaching is what cost them the finals. I think it was more leading into the next question. The next question is also about the Timberwolves. What should the T-Wolves do with Cat? And I think this is where what lost them the conference finals comes into play. So in my opinion, I think you trade Karl Anthony Towns because, one, he's still 29, I think, and he still has some value, but you're also paying him a lot of money moving forward. And I think you have him for another 2 or 3 years before he's a free agent. So I think if you move him now, you would get the most out of him. And I think you could get some of those vets that you need on a team like this to really carry, like Mike Conley. You need Mike Conleys. You need more. And then you need draft capital, which I think you could also get out of trading Karl Anthony Towns. The other option was trade Rudy Gobert, but the problem is you've invested so much in getting him. I don't think you'll get nearly as much back if you get rid of him. So I think Karl Anthony Towns is definitely the one you need to move. think you can get a lot for him. I think he's still that all-star, superstar caliber player. Yes, he had some inconsistencies in the playoffs, but for the whole season when he plays, you know what you're getting. And if he can translate that to the playoffs, even better. But I think he is a very good trade target, and he will bring you the best trade value if you want to build around Anthony Edwards. The next one is it was before game 6 of the Stanley Cup Finals, which did force Game 7. Edmonton did. If this Stanley Cup Finals goes to Game 7, is this one of the best series of the last 5, 10? Honestly, you could say it's probably one of the best series of the last 30 years. This Stanley Cup Finals has been absolutely electric. What Connor McDavid was able to do in games 4, 5, and 6 is just completely outstanding. I mean, there's a reason, we'll get into it a little later, but there's a reason why he won the Stanley Cup Playoffs MVP. Unfortunately, I was rooting for Edmonton. Obviously, that's Austin's team, so I followed suit because my team wasn't there. And with Florida being back-to-back, I am happy for Sergei Bobrovsky. I do think he deserved a Stanley Cup finally, being a former Columbus Blue Jacket. I'm happy for him, but I did want to see Edmonton and Connor McDavid really solidify that. But yes, is this the best of the last 5, 10, 20 years? In my opinion, yes. Of the last 5, for sure. But probably dating back a significant amount, you could say this is the best series. And then the one from TB as a fan Q. What will Bronny call LeBron on the court? This is kind of fun, right? Because it is his dad. So is he going to say, "Hey, Dad, I'm open"? Or is it going to say, "Hey, LeBron, pass me the ball"? Like, what's that dynamic going to be like if they do end up being on a team together? I think that's just going to be a little funny thing to try and keep tracking throughout the year. But I would assume he's going to call him LeBron. Or maybe they just develop the point where they just call numbers, like, "Hey, 6, hey, 7, hey, 23, whatever it may be. Maybe that's the route they go. I'm not sure. But definitely fun. It would be funny to hear him through the mic on the TV, Dad, pass me the ball, pass me the ball." That'd be pretty funny. But, yeah, I would imagine that he just goes with LeBron. And then now, without further ado, let's get into NFL news. For you Bengals fans out there, Dax Hill will be switching from safety to corner. Kind of an interesting move. I'm not sure how that move is going to go because safety and corner are very, very similar but very different at the same time. I think Dax Hill's talented enough to where he'll perform well at either, but kind of an odd thing to do in the offseason, I feel like, is just completely change positions. I'm not really sure what prompted it either. But yeah, so that's a fun little thing. And then the next thing I want to talk about, because NFL news has not been very adamant lately, since we're in the kind of heart of the off season where nothing's really going on. Brandon Ayuk is this fiasco around him where apparently they didn't want to trade him, but then Washington was supposed to trade for him, but then backed out, and how he's allegedly taking all of this very personal, and there's been no contract negotiations. We're very, very quickly running into the issue that Brandon Ayuk is turning into a diva. Not everyone can be Lamar Jackson and get whatever they want. I'm not sure that. I think now the only move that the Niners can do is trade Brandon Ayuk. The problem is, I think what he's doing in response to them not signing him is making him less of a trade target for other teams. Because being in a situation where you're being very emotional and it's just, I don't know, other teams might say that's ugly, they don't want to deal with it, he's a diva. I mean, you're looking at look at Odell, right? Odell nothing seemed to work out. He got traded to Cleveland. And then he didn't get re-signed, and then his dad got involved, and then it got a really weird, ugly situation. And what has Odell done since then? Nothing. That was his last 1,000-yard season. Granted, he has been hurt, but Brandon Ayuk appears to be tiptoeing into this same path. And in my opinion, I think the Niners should definitely be looking to move him now. And honestly, I think whatever they get for value would be better, because it seems like he's going to be an issue in the locker room if you do re-sign him. So, yeah, that's my opinion on the whole Brandon Ayuk stuff. Now we're going to get into some fantasy football, and I'm going to go with my sleeper late-round wide receivers and running backs that I'm really looking at. Wide receivers get a little fun. I'll just tell you now, you guys might agree, you guys might disagree, I don't know. Maybe these are guys that have burned you in the past, maybe they're rookies. But these are just my opinions. The first one is Roman Wilson with Pittsburgh. Roman Wilson, in my opinion, has a very, very easy pathway at the moment to become a wide receiver one and a reliable target over the middle. He is big, he's physical, he's fast. Outside of that, you have Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, and your only other threat to your receptions and target numbers is George Pickens, who George Pickens does not require a massive amount of targets to be valuable. He is a sideline deep threat, big physical guy as well, but I think Roman Wilson will be more of their more reliable over the middle, Tyler Lockett-esque player, where if you just need a first down, you're giving the ball to Roman Wilson, and I think he'll have a lot of yak opportunities, and I think he will be able to make a lot of things happen in that open field when he does receive the ball. My next one is Tyler Boyd. We're 2 years removed from Tyler Boyd having 1,000-yard season, or 2 or 3, but that was not that long ago. He's not old. He's not necessarily young, but again, DeAndre Hopkins is not getting younger. Treylon Burks not getting better. He's kind of stagnant as of now, which I also like him. I think Treylon Burks or Tyler Boyd, if you walk away in whatever round with one of these guys, don't overpay, obviously, but I mean, you're talking about the wide receiver 86 and 88. So you're talking round 10, 11, 12, late round guys that still can have a lot of value. Treylon Burks and Tyler Boyd, either or, one of them will be very good. You have a 50-50 shot because DeAndre Hopkins is okay, I think. He has the potential injury risk. He has other issues. Calvin Ridley is very good. I think he's really talented. But how much of his game is going to be stuck behind terrible routes and scheming like it was last year? That, to me, is where Treylon Burks and Tyler Boyd come into play, is because they will be in the slot. And for a flex position or a late-round wide receiver to have a guy that's going to be starting in the slot is going to be a very nice thing to have. Especially because I think one of them can overcome and put up consistent games. I think, in my opinion, I lean more towards Tyler Boyd because he's seen it in the past, and he has the capability to be amazing. And then my last one is Andre Yoshivas, Cincinnati's wide receiver. I believe he played some in the slot last year, but when and if T. Higgins gets traded, this will be your wide receiver too. Like, he is a big, physical, dominant wide receiver. He had flashes of greatness last year, and right now he's the wide receiver 101. So just above Cedric Tillman and Noah Brown. So this is a guy you could probably sign out of free agency. Like, to me, in the last pick, if this guy's on the board, I'm grabbing him in every single draft. Because if T. Higgins does get traded or goes down, Andre Yoshivas is now your wide receiver number 2 with Joe Burrow, who is going to throw 4,000 yards. And those yards are going to have to go somewhere besides Jamar Chase. And to me, T. Higgins is going to be good. I think they're going to be looking to trade him, and I think Yoshibas will be the guy to step up in the slot. So that is my sleeper wide receivers. Now let me go over to running backs for you. One guy that I do like that's getting a lot of work in a lot of late round picks, Jerome Ford. I don't think Zeke is going to be back in maybe halfway through the year is at the earliest. If he comes back, I mean, realistically, that injury could be a career ender. And if he does come back, you're expecting a very limited load. I don't see him being like a dominant carrier. I think his shares will go way, way down, at least for the rest of this season. And then if he's there next year, I think that's when you'll see him kind of take back the carries. But as of now, I don't see Zeke or Nick Chubb coming back. And Nick Chubb's actually ADP'd higher than Jerome Ford, which is insane. I have not seen any hints of him coming back or anything like that. So, yeah, I don't know about that. The other one around that same area is Blake Corum. So we know how Sean McVay does things with a committee. They spent a day 2 pick on Blake Corum. They're going to use him. And I think he could very quickly become a workhorse because that's what he was in college. So, to me, I see no issue drafting Blake Corum late. He's a guy I'm targeting probably around rounds 7 through 9. At least in best ball right now, that's kind of where he's falling to. Really, outside of those two, I'm not really confident in a whole lot of other guys. I mean, I know everybody still wants to say Tank Bigsby, but he was literally the worst running back in football. Michael Carter could take over a lot of James Conner's stuff, but still, I just, outside of Jerome Ford and Blake Corum, there's not really any sleepers. There's some guys that I'm confident in, but they're, I think Tony Pollard's going to be really good. I think Brian Robinson Jr. has the opportunity to be really good. I think Zamir White's going to be good. DeAndre Swift is probably going to be good. A lot of the same names you're going to see. Tajay Spears, I think, can be really good as a flex opportunity, but I think he's going to be more utilized in the pass game. So if you're a PPR, that's where you want to grab Tajay Spears over Tony Pollard. But if you're not a PPR, I think Tony Pollard's the safer bet because he's going to be getting most of the groundwork. So that is all I have for fantasy talk today. Now moving on to the NBA. Scotty Barnes is set to sign a 5-year, $270 million extension, which I love Scotty Barnes as much as the next guy, right? But I did not see this coming at that. I mean, you're talking about a guy who, yes, did a great job defensively. Very good defender. But his splits last year were 19 points, 20 points, we'll round that up. 20 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists. Very, very good. 47% shooting, 34% from 3, 78% free throw shooter. So he's getting better every year. But the problem you run into is, one, as the Raptors, you're requiring your team to play 40 minutes a game. So is what he's doing sustainable? That I just don't know. I like Scotty Barnes. I think it's a good move to lock him up. I just think they might be overpaying a little bit, in my opinion. The next thing is the Cleveland Cavaliers get their head coach, Kenny Atkinson. Was a Golden State Warriors assistant coach, so I like it. I think it's a good move. You have a guy who's been around loads of talent and all in a very tricky offensive scheme. So maybe you can bring some more less fundamental basketball to Cleveland, which I think is needed in this day and age. So we'll see. Right now, I'm happy with it. We'll see what they do for the rest of the offseason since it just started. But another signing, you have Malik Monk intending on signed a 4-year, $78 million deal with Sacramento. Love to see it. I was a big Malik Monk fan when he was coming out of college, coming out of Kentucky, obviously. He never really got his time to shine, in my opinion, until he got to Sacramento. Just kind of took too long. But I'm really happy for him. I think he's a really talented player. And excited to see the Kings continue to make moves. Then Detroit is hiring a vice president of basketball operations, Dennis Lindsay. He spent last year working under Dallas's GM as an advisor. He helped build multiple other teams. He was with the Spurs for a while. He was with the Rockets. He was with the Jazz last year, or the year before last, when they were a playoff team. So we'll see what kind of moves Detroit starts making. Then we have OG Anunoby declining his player option, says he wants to test free agency. So we'll see about that. I think that's a great move by him. I think people are going to be sending him blank checks to come play for them because he is probably the best defender in the league. And then we got a little conversation we're going to have. Michael Jordan in the season of 1988 and 1989. There were some people at CBS that got full game footage of that year, and over a 6-game stretch where they said Jordan had 28 stocks, so that's steals and blocks total throughout the games. The people at CBS said they counted, and he was box scoring more stocks than teams were having turnovers total. So there's been a little blast to the past here, people saying Jordan's a fraud, that year was fraudulent, and there was a lot of stats that were inflated. Just based on the information that I found, that does seem to be true. He also has the biggest split of home stocks versus away stocks, and it's almost double. So when he is at home, it seems to be that his stocks are doubling what they should have been. But the people that counted said out of those 6 games that they said he had 28 stocks, he actually had 12, which is over double. So all you Jordan fanboys out there who says he's the greatest player of all time, pull up the tape, buddy, because it sounds like his stats are a little inflated. All right, and now we can cover the NHL. Game 6 went in Edmonton's favor with a score of 5-1. So another big blowout by Edmonton in their little stretch. Then we get to Game 7, and defense just reigned supreme. Bobrovsky again, 23 saves, only allowing 1 point. Edmonton had everything they needed to play. They just couldn't score on power. They only had 1 power play. There was not a whole lot of penalties called at all. But neither team had power play goals. Neither team had shorthanded goals. Panthers were just the more physical team. Panthers had more takeaways. Oilers had more faceoffs won. Panthers had more giveaways, but Panthers 6 hits to 2 hits. They just shut down Connor McDavid. It was 1-1 coming out of the first period, going into the second. Into the second period, 2-1, and then no points at all in the third period. I get it. The Oilers were probably exhausted. I mean, And then they were going back to Florida, where it's going to be tough to steal games with that crowd, especially a Game 7 crowd. But Connor McDavid did win the Conn Smythe, or however you say that, the Stanley Cup Finals or Stanley Cup Playoffs MVP. So congratulations to Connor, and congratulations to the Florida Panthers. I do think that Edmonton will be back. I think Connor McDavid will win a Stanley Cup with that team, but they got a lot of work to do to not choke it away in the playoffs. With that, we'll jump to UFC real quick. We'll review the Saudi card, and then we will preview UFC 303, which is this weekend. I would just be reviewing the main card there. It's kind of a fun card. Should be very, very good. I will also just review the UFC Saudi main card. Johnny Walker got absolutely flatlined by Volkan Oezdemir. Kind of as expected, Johnny Walker's kind of feels like he's kind of on his way out. Shara Magomedov, the one-eyed wonder, as I like to call him, knocked out Antonio Tricoli in the third round, and Shara Magomedov is an absolute murderer. He's going to cause people a lot of problems because he's also from Dagestan. So, yes, he's knocking everybody out, but he can still wrestle, and we just know that. Kevin Gastelum over Daniel Rodriguez is a unanimous decision. It wasn't even close. Sergey Pavlovich got absolutely shredded by Alexander Volkov, to the point where Volkov was getting his hair combed in the corners during rounds, but it was a unanimous decision. Sergey was the favorite going in, and Volkov just absolutely pieced him up. Doubled the amount of strikes landed. Sergey just, if he can't knock you out, he's not a volume puncher. He's a heavy hitter, so if he's not landing clean, he's just going to lose. And that kind of proved it. And then the main event was Bobby Knuckles, Robert Whittaker versus Ikram Aliskerov. Short notice fight, was supposed to be Hamzat. Obviously, Hamzat was a bum of the week, or a bum of the day, so that didn't happen. Ikram got knocked out in 1 minute and 49 seconds. So Bobby Knuckles still has it. Should be in line for a title fight now as well. He is number 3. He is bouncing back from all of his losses consistently. So, yeah, let me know what you guys think about that. And then we have UFC 303. Starting out the main card with Ian Gary versus Michael Page. As much as I don't like Ian Gary, there's, to me, no way Michael Page beats him. Ian Gary is so technical. He's such a good striker that I just don't see Michael Page. Michael Page might get knocked out, to be honest. And I don't have a bias towards either of them. I dislike both of them. Just a heads up. Then we move on to the next fight, Maria Bueno Silva versus Macy Chiasson. Again, rolling with the favorite on this one because Maria Bueno Silva is the favorite, and I think she will absolutely slaughter Macy Chiasson. Then we have Anthony Smith versus Roman Dolidze. This is a tough one, but I think Anthony Smith can close this out with a KO. Diego Lopez versus Brian Ortega. This is an absolutely massive opportunity for Diego Lopez. If Diego Lopez wins this fight, he will be immediately in title contention because he will go up to number 3. This push is as big as a push as Sean O'Malley got when he fought from 15-2. This is 14-3. So I think Diego Lopez wins. I think this kid is absolutely insanely talented. I do not see Brian Ortega winning, but I could be shocked. And then we have the championship fight, short notice, Yuri Prohaska versus Alex Pereira. I think Yuri gets it done this time. And then we get Alex versus Yuri 3. But I think Yuri will knock out Alex Pereira. And I know I said that last time, Last time there was a shitty stoppage. So this time, Yuri will get the finish. And now, last but not least, moving on to the MLB. All right, first things first. Clayton Kershaw has been shut down for the remainder of the season. Sad to see. I really like Clayton Kershaw. One of the few guys that I knew when I wasn't really watching. When I wasn't really watching baseball, I knew Clayton Kershaw. But, yeah, sad to see. Definitely a really good pitcher. Outside of that, the Orioles have a couple news points here. Gunnar Henderson smashes his 25th home run. Absolutely insane. And then the top-ranked prospect, Jackson Holliday, is back in the AAA lineup after missing 2 weeks with arm issues. I know Austin was big on Jackson Holliday. He got called up, struggled, got sent back down. So we'll see if he can recover very good from this injury, and we can move on. Other than that, Sterling Martell is expected to miss at least a month with a bone bruise. Definitely sad to see. And also, Edwin Diaz is serving his 10-game suspension after ejection for having foreign substance on his hand. Steven had suggested that I make him bum of the day, but the reason why I didn't is because nobody can, besides the umps, can tell you if it's a foreign substance, and most of the time it's not, and guys get suspended for foreign substance when it's nothing besides sweat and dirt and other stuff all the time. So I think, to me, that's probably a BS story, but what do I know? And then in the odds race, Paul Skeens takes over as the NL Rookie of the Year favorite as Shota Imanaga drops. So there's your baseball update. There's your sports. I don't really have anything else. I do have the winners of the Bum of the Day and the Pimps of the Day from last week and your new nominees for this week. Let me pull them up real quick. So your Bum of the Day winners last week were Nathan's Hot Dog. So these are your Bums of the Week for the week before last and last week. Nathan's Hot Dogs competition for banning Joey Chestnut after he signed a deal with a different hot dog company, and Hamzat Chimaev for dropping out of the Saudi fight against Robert Whitaker. This week's nominee, there was really only one. It was Sergey Pavlovich. His reaction to Alexander Volkov coming up and tapping him and saying, "Hey man, good fight," was, "I'm going to shove you and now I want to fight." And that's just bullshit. You're a loser. Get over it. Your Pimps of the week for the week prior to last and last week, William Hendon. He was the guy who ran out on the Reds field and did a backflip in front of the security officer chasing him down and then got tased. To do a backflip in a security officer's mouth is freaking hilarious. What a pimp. Number 2 is HBO/NFL Films for the mid-season Hard Knocks and landing the entire AFC North. That is going to be an amazing Hard Knocks. And then this week's nominee is Noah Lyles. Before each of his qualifying races, he's been pulling out different Yu-Gi-Oh cards. The first one he pulled out Blue Eyes White Dragon, and the second one he pulled out Exodia, and then he qualified. So absolutely electric things going on in track and field. I cannot wait for the Olympics to start. And that is all I have for this week. So, we always say, S&S to the moon.